And moles are simply, we refer to them as moles, they're simply the vested interest that because they're on social media and on the internet, you can't tell who they are. And you don't know that they're vested interest, and therefore, whenever somebody asks a question, they're the first ones that pop up and tell you how gleefully everything is, how wonderful and oh, beautiful, you know, just everything, just the whatever you want to hear. Recently a commenter said, yeah, I was just there on coastal Italy. It's November and I had to flee to Thailand. Okay, not sure where this got started, but Italy is absolutely not tropical. I see this on forums too, people saying, I want to go somewhere where it's warm and nice all year. What do you think about Italy? Oh, so there's a geography void there. Not tropical, folks. I don't know if it even qualifies for subtropical.
So have you noticed, Hud, all these travel videos online, and then they say they're going to talk about the negatives of the place, and then they barely even talk about the negatives. I mean, they really downplay the negatives, and the video is really about how great the place is. And do you notice that?
Yeah, and I think that's just part of the public etiquette. You want to deliver something in a positive way, but at the same time it isn't really accurate or very truthful. So yeah, it's part of that public etiquette that says that, you know, people are getting on this channel and they want to look at things and listen to things that make a way forward for them, and they don't necessarily at that particular point in time aren't at the due diligence stage yet. Yeah. For example, when you go out looking for a brand new house to buy, you know, buying a house is like one of the biggest decisions, and Americans do it a lot more often than even foreigners, but even for foreigners. But back in the day, it used to be just a one-time deal, you know, and it was a big deal. So, you know, you have to go in stages. You have to go look at the house and be awed by the house first. You have to say, oh wow, it's beautiful, it's amazing, and then when you make a decision, you know, I think we should buy this house, then it's like, okay, due diligence time, right? And so I think
some people don't do their due diligence.
Well, you're supposed to do your due diligence always. I think that with YouTube, or you know, you've got a lot of people that are still in that initial stage of, I'm not ready to do due diligence, I just want to hear the good stuff right now. Mm-hmm. The tragedy is that when they go through with it and then still don't do their due diligence. And in that respect, though, lately we've been seeing occasional channels here and there try to give the appearance of giving a more of a tell it like it is situation, but they aren't really considered deep enough to be any kind of factual or truthful information to where you could make a, you know, informed decision or anything. You know,
I still think they downplay the negatives.
Well, they're still barely scratching the surface, and they totally really downplay everything. So they're not really the place to be if you're wanting to do real factual due diligence. And so you wouldn't dream of going ahead and buying that house, even though after you've seen all what there is to see on the surface and how beautiful it is. You still have to have an unbiased third party. You wouldn't go to the seller of the house and ask them to do due diligence, right? I mean, there's just too much at stake for them. They want to sell, right? So you would go to a third party due diligence to get unbiased, factual, accurate information of exactly what you're dealing with. What we've been doing so far is just kind of sprinkling our videos with most of this due diligence, and then, or a lot of it, and then the rest of it would go in some of it would go in our books. But we can't, or private consultations. But you know, when you start thinking about, well, you know, people that want to go to Panama, people that want to go to Ecuador, people that want to go to Portugal, and all these other places that people want to go, we aren't necessarily going to be there to write a book about it. What we've decided to do is roll out a brand new service where it's a done-for-you service on your chosen place of where you want to go, and you're basically hiring us to do that for you, and we deliver that, you know, to you in a digital format. And so it's important to remember that you want to go to a trusted third party, because obviously you don't want them to have any vested interest in the outcome, right? When it comes to due diligence, we just talked about in the other video that there's a difference between tourism and then retiring or moving somewhere, you know, for a length of time beyond tourism. And to expect to be able to do a deep due diligence during your, temporary tourist segment of your inspection is not realistic, because you're not going to be able to do it. You're going to have to,
exactly.
You're going to be just superficially skimming the top. Up until now, the only thing people have been able to do is go on forums and Facebook and YouTube or whatever and expect that they're going to get a little bit more and deeper due diligence, when in fact you may get a morsel here and there, and maybe in 6 months or a year you might figure something out. But if you want, that due diligence like right now, I mean, you would have to literally spend hours and hours and hours, every week on these forums to try to, get to the bottom of something. And even then, you got to understand the psychology of people and the idea that there are moles on social media. And moles are simply, we refer to them as moles, they're simply the vested interest that because they're on social media and on the internet, you can't tell who they are. And you don't know that they're vested interest, and therefore, whenever somebody asks a question, they're the first ones to pop up and tell you how gleefully everything is, how wonderful and beautiful, just everything, just the whatever you want to hear, right? So that's not really going to work, if you're serious about doing some due diligence.
And what about all the writers of the Rams, all the writers that put out articles? Is that due diligence?
Well, again, it's not unbiased. It's people that work for the vested interest, and they're, it's unfortunate.
I think people don't understand that if somebody's writing for the Retire Abroad media and magazines, they're not going to say anything.
Well, I doubt that they even know. I mean, half the time I doubt that they know, but if they did know, because a lot of times they themselves only moved there, a short while ago or a year ago or
even
two.
If they live there.
But even if they've lived there for 8 to 10 years, they're not being paid to do a due diligence recognizance for you. Paid to promote the place. So in that respect, it would be outside of their job description to give you a complete 100% unbiased due diligent report kind of thing. So the other reason why it doesn't work to get on social media and ask other people is that again, you're just going to get everything but what you really need to know. And part of that is because it's human nature, and human nature works like this. People are loath to admit making a mistake. One of the things about human psychology is that we're built to avoid pain. In order to avoid pain, we won't admit something to ourselves in order to avoid emotional pain, not just physical or just emotional too. That's why people do it. It's not some sinister plot or anything. It's human nature. And so you're going against human nature if you expect people on forums to come out. Now, I challenge you to be observant when you get on social media and somebody asks about a place and you see people saying all these wonderful things, and then I challenge you to look and observe to see if anyone even dares jump out and say something that is a difference of an opinion. And typically what happens, typically what will happen is if the group is about the location, they'll be pounced on. And so you've got this peer pressure going on where most people aren't. Also besides avoiding pain, emotional pain, they also want to avoid the emotional pain of going against a group. So most people aren't built that way. They'd rather just, call it a day and not fuss over it, right? All right. Look, we've been doing this for going on a decade, and we've been observing these bubbles, and how expats relate to one another, and just the complete picture. We've been outlining this throughout all our videos, and if you're new, then subscribe to the channel and check them out. It is a pretty nice day for the middle of November. I do have my shorts on, and it's pretty nice, actually.
What's the temp?
It feels like it's about 69 or something. But if you're serious about getting a deep, third-party, unbiased, due diligent report on the place you want to go to, and that could include not necessarily just negatives, but anything else that you want to know and really need to know. You know, so at the time that you put in your request for the report, you can tell us what other things you would like to be in the reports. It's not just what we're going to put in based on our experience at almost a decade, that we know things to look for that you may not know that you should know. It's not just that, but there are also other things that you may specifically want to know about that you can put in a request so that we can include that in the reports. We're really excited to help you out this way and to help you avoid unnecessary spinning of your wheels, your time, going places that aren't a match, that isn't what you're looking for. And on the other hand, it would speed you up towards putting you in a place that's closer, because no place is going to be exact, but closer to what you were looking for. So again, this is not about not going places. I mean, if you still want to go places to check them out, you would still do that.
Oh yeah.
Clearly, you still want to, you know, get a feel for place for being there. But as far as, you know, when you get to that level where you're getting semi-serious about the transaction and you need to get a third-party, unbiased inspection of that beautiful house you want to buy, then that's where we step in. Okay, so we're rolling this out, and so we're putting it on a special discount promotion, and so we have it discounted right now. So check it out once it gets rolling. After a while, we're going to remove the discount. So check it out, and all right. If you like the video, you know what to do, and check out the links below. Bye.